Hey everyone, so this is going to be a why do we choose to homeschool. So my hands are painted from tie-dyeing, and as you can see, a lot of these videos have been recorded in this time that I have here, and that is due to the fact that I am a homeschool stay-at-home mom. I do work at nights, but I'm with my kids during the day and it's summertime. So let's dive into why we started homeschooling, what happened, and how our journey looks. We started schooling living overseas. So we lived in Portugal when the pandemic hit. I had a kindergartner, and then I believe my youngest was 1.5 or 2 at the time. We were with an international Montessori over there when the whole world shut down, and we started to do online schooling from our house. Well, during that time I think he was a preschooler, and then he was a kindergartner. So preschool, we were fine. I think everything stayed open. And then once kindergarten hit, schools shut down and countries shut down. So our school tried to kind of keep things going for us so that we would kind of keep paying tuition and, they wouldn't lose students and everything. But I had a kindergartner at the time, and he didn't want to sit on Zoom calls and read to his teacher over the computer. So we started to do a little bit of homeschooling there. Well, we did that for probably about 3 or 4 months, and it was really loose. It was kind of an unschooling scenario. We would do some reading together, and we would learn all the things that you would do in kindergarten, but kind of a more like natural way. So counting rocks and painting and reading words and sitting down and just reading together. So then we went back to Montessori for the rest of kindergarten, and we moved back to the States. So my son just had turned 7 when we moved back. And I just had this overwhelming feeling. I'm a public school kid, so I don't really know where it totally stemmed from, but I just knew that there was no chance that I wanted to send my kids to public school. And at the time, our public school where we were teaching things that really just did not align with our family values. Things that gender identities, etc., which we have zero judgment over that. But as a kindergartner, that did not feel like something that was going to be a part of our learning. And so we decided once we moved overseas, we could not afford private school anymore. It doubled in price. So when we lived overseas, we were paying about $5,000 per child for the entire year for 5 days a week. And then when we moved back, we were looking at some Montessoris that were $10,000 for one student. So looking at $20,000 to put 2 kids through Montessori. By the time we finished elementary school, we would have bought a house. So we decided to homeschool, and I had never thought of myself as a homeschool parent. I did not come from a homeschool family. I didn't really know any homeschool kids, and so I was really just shooting from the hip, kind of figuring it out as I went. I look like a little Smurf. I joined a co-op, and that co-op was a Waldorf-based co-op, and we sort of started from there. Well, immediately I noticed that philosophy that they were using through their co-op was kind of behind where my son was already at when it came to 1st and 2nd grade. They had paired them up in 1st and 2nd grade. And so halfway through that co-op, I realized, oh no, this is kind of regressing where we've already worked from with the Montessori and with a little bit of homeschooling due to the pandemic. And so we ended up putting him in a parent partnership. And that's through the school district, which is super amazing. So we're in Washington State, and I believe every child in Washington State has access to alternative learning options. And where I'm currently at, almost every single school district has multiple learning options. And so I did not know this. I had to kind of dig deep to find this out. And so I would highly recommend wherever you are homeschooling to look into what kind of options you have through your school district, whether that's parent partnerships or being able to use resources through the public school. I will say I've researched a couple of different states, and I've seen that Washington does have a very awesome parent partnership program. So we actually go to an outdoor school 2 days a week where it is completely free, and they cover science and social studies. They also cover curriculum. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, they do science and social studies, and they also get to be around kids. They do art and PE. And then Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we do language arts and math, and then language arts and math on those 3 days. And it's a hybrid. But we have done all homeschooling plus a parent and partnership 1 day a week. But I started both of my kids in a Montessori until first grade. And then once we hit first grade, then we started fully homeschooling or homeschooling with a parent partnership. So I do have a college degree. It is not in teaching. I was really worried, like, how am I gonna teach my kids when I don't have a teaching degree? I'm a perfect example of somebody who has figured it out, has connected with resources within the community, and has also done a little bit of my own back work to ensure the success of my kids. And I'm not looking back. I thought, okay, we'll take it year after year, might even take it day after day. And there were moments in the beginning of homeschooling where I thought, oh no, I can't do this. Because my kid kind of knew what like an organized schooling was, we had a little bit of a transitional period where he needed to kind of discover the things that he liked being home and what he wanted to do while he was home. Because oftentimes when you, for example, pull a public school student out of public school to homeschool them, they'll go through a period, and that could be an entire year, where they're discovering themselves again because they've been in a system that has told them this is how you need to be. And once they get a chance to be who they want to be, or have the ability to have freedom in that, they go through a process in which they're saying, probably things like, I'm bored, I don't like this, emotional. And so oftentimes, if you pull a public school student out, especially in those older grades, it's going to take an adjustment period. And so even though we were younger, coming out of kindergarten, it took some time for us to kind of adjust and understand the dynamics between me as the teacher and the mom, and then also my son as a student at home and his expectations. So for the first 2 years, we definitely took it day by day, and just made sure that our relationship is the number one thing that we are continuing to have positive growth in. Because I have heard oftentimes when it comes to homeschooling that sometimes being the teacher as the parent can be an extreme struggle for the student and the child. So making sure that that's our number one goal is to make sure that our relationships are number one priority. And then finding our limitations. So in that first year of homeschooling, we found, and it changes every year, it grows and grows, but how many minutes does each thing take, and how much should I push, and how much should I give grace? And I will say right now, I have a first grader and he's going into second grade, and then a fourth grader going into fifth grade. Grace is going to be your best friend. Some days my first grader wants to sit and do all of his work plus tomorrow's work, and other days we don't want to do any work at all. So I would definitely recommend not having a strict schedule, being super flexible in the beginning of your homeschool journey. But I guess I was kind of sharing my homeschool journey, but also some advice along the way. But yeah, so I would definitely give yourself grace, give your student grace, and then really find what works for you. I'm a part of a lot of groups that oftentimes are talking about, like, here's my strict schedule, we're gonna do this curriculum, like, everybody tell me what your thoughts are. And there's sometimes harsh comments and stuff, but what works for somebody might not work for somebody else. So for me, I do have to have like a loose schedule, like, okay, everything is done before 2 o'clock. Otherwise, we might go our entire day with getting nothing done. So I follow a loose schedule, and within that 6-hour period from waking up till 2, we accomplish A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or maybe that day is a big project, and so we work on that project before 2 o'clock. Everything is finished, chores are finished, all of the things. So something that just works for your family. Some people go real easy into it, and then they're flexible and they can hold themselves accountable without having a strict schedule. So it kind of just works for wherever you're at. I will also say that when it comes to curriculum, no, do not focus on the levels or the grades that they are saying. Focus at where your student is at. Oftentimes when you pull a student out of public school, there's going to be huge gaps, because if a student did not grasp something and the classroom kept moving on, they never got that. And so, there's some resources out there. iExcel is going to be something that I share in one of my videos about how to find where those gaps are and fill them in. So I would definitely say have grace and be confident that you are the best thing for your child. You're the best influence for them. If you're choosing to homeschool, I can already say that you are the best influence for them, because you're choosing this path probably based off of many factors involving you witnessing something that your child's experiencing. So definitely a lot of grace, and yeah, just be open to lots of things. We've changed curriculum so many times. Something that works for others might not work for you. Give it a chance. If it's horrible, let it go. Don't go, okay, I'm gonna get this. Let's say this is your curriculum. I'm gonna get this curriculum. I'm gonna finish the curriculum all the way through, even if we have tears, even if we're suffering, even if it feels like it's not for us, let it go. Curriculum is expensive. That's why a parent partnership is always nice, because they can help you get the curriculum. You don't like it, okay, we're changing new curriculum and we're trying something else. Go to curriculum fairs, do all the resources or research that you can do. At the end of the day, it is hard to buy curriculum because you don't have that firsthand experience, but my best advice is if it's not working, let it go. So, yep, after, just deciding like this is the path for us, we haven't looked back. It's been the best thing that we've chosen for our family. Gaps that we might see in our students or things that we feel like we can't fulfill, there's always resources out there, especially after the pandemic. Like, there are so many resources, like within your community, online. You can just outreach for basically every single thing. So if you're thinking of homeschooling, you have the ability to do it. It's within your bandwidth. I would definitely say try it out. Don't give up. Take it day by day. Give it a year. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But I will just say from my own personal experience that it did take many years to really start to feel like we were in the groove of things. And I love how we get to work at our own pace, and we also get to enjoy so much more family time. So I just wanted to share why we homeschool, and then just some advice on homeschooling in general, and a little bit about kind of what we do. So thank you for tuning in. If you want to hear more videos about curriculum and book reviews and book suggestions and all things that comes with homeschooling and being a mom, like and subscribe and follow this video, and thank you for being here.